explained. My name is Mendez. I am a voice actress from the United States. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, but I live in Los Angeles, California right now. And I've been living there for about like 6 years or so. Mostly to do what I do, which is work in voiceover, and I work on a lot of anime, which I believe a lot of you watch, and I work in some video games and stuff like that. I've also done original cartoons too, which is really fun. And some of the things I've done are I am Ryuko in Kill la Kill. I am Gon in Hunter x Hunter. Deanne in Seven Deadly Sins. Aladdin and Moggy the Labyrinth of Magic. I'm like blanking on everything. I'm the new voice of Sailor Uranus and Sailor Moon. So I'm not the one that well, I don't know. I'm assuming you guys. Well, I don't. That's the thing. Like, I don't know like what you guys have watched out here because I don't know what has come out here. As far as like dubs and stuff, I'm sure you guys watch Japanese language stuff too sometimes, right? Maybe. Yeah. So not the like old Sailor Moon, but like the newer one that just came out, the new dub of it that just came out a few years ago. But yeah. What else? I'm trying to think of like recent things that I can talk about, but. I think that covers the big things, but there's more. You can look me up online, I guess. But just to kind of like tell you guys how I got started, I actually did a lot of stuff on the internet beforehand, just for like, I don't know, because I've been interested in voice acting for a very long time. So when I was a teenager, I used to look up voiceover on the internet. So I found a bunch of online communities where other people were interested in voiceover. So I, would get together with them and we'd record our voices on the internet and upload it. We do projects together, like radio plays and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. So you get to know a lot of people and you get to be creative with other people, which I think is really cool. And maybe we need a little bit more of in this world, creativity with other people and group projects and stuff like that. So, me having my start that way, I've actually always been really interested in video games and anime in particular. So, I actually went to school for animation. Like, I have a degree in making animation, even though I'm not very good at it. So, my main educational background is in that, and I, would take acting classes, which I think is really important in voiceover because it's more about the acting than it is the voice, and the voice kind of comes later, So I took a few acting classes, even though I was really shy. I'm a very shy person, so the fact that like I'm able to like sit up here and talk to everybody like this right now is like, it's been a long time in the making. Because when I was in high school, I was very shy and nervous, and I had huge stage fright. So this is, I feel like, what you can accomplish if you work hard at something that you really want to do. And this is what I, not doing conventions in particular, that's a perfect of it, but voiceover is something I really wanted to do. So I worked hard to kind of like get over my fears and stuff like that, and was able to overcome that stuff. But I was dating a voice actor. I don't know if you guys know the name Lucian Dodge. He's in a lot of projects that I'm also in. He's the new voice of Zoisite in Sailor Moon. I don't know, have you guys played an indie game called Dust and Elysian Tale? Have you played that? He's the lead character in that. He's Waver in Fate Zero, if you guys have seen that, stuff like that. So, I was dating him long distance for a while. He's from New York, and he was working in voiceover for a long time out there. And he eventually moved out to California, and I was like, well, I want to go out there too, because I have this degree in animation. So I moved out there with him, not knowing that I was going to get into voiceover, but I had the experience with it. So having known a lot of people that also moved out there, I was able to get opportunities because they're like, oh, well, Erica, we know that you can do stuff, so we're going to see if you can audition, and like I would get these chances to audition. And it took about a year of living in LA before I finally booked something, which was I don't know if you guys got it out here, but there's a video game called Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. It's based on a TV show that aired in America. It was recorded in Canada, but this cartoon, they wanted to record the video game in Los Angeles, so they wanted voice matches for the cast that was done in Canada. And I actually booked the part of Pac-Man, so I could say that I voiced Pac-Man in something, which is really weird. But that was actually my very first, like, really big voiceover role. And then from there, they would ask me to, audition for other things or just cast me other things. And for a long time, I was kind of known as the person who did, at least the newest person who did like young boy voices. So I booked a lot of young boy characters like Aladdin and Huggy, and eventually Go, and I played like bit parts of video games and stuff here and there. So that was mostly how I got my start, I think. And from there on, I've done lots of other stuff. Like I said, Kill and Some of the Sins and Little Witch Academia, and video games like Donkey Kong and Street Fighter and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a really wild ride, I think. And look at me now, I'm in Trinidad talking to you guys, which I think is really cool. Who would have ever thought that I get to go to places like this to talk to you guys about voiceover. So I actually don't know a lot about Trinidad, especially when it comes to like the acting scene or like voiceover in particular. Somebody was telling me that I guess, because I was actually wondering this, like I don't know how many original cartoons actually get made out here to where there's a chance for voiceover to be a very little. Yeah, that's what somebody was telling me. There's like very little like just now starting to come up, and a lot of the voiceover that's being done here is kind of like on a pro bono basis, like people don't get paid for it because it's more experimental. That would fly in America, I'll tell you that. No one would work for free in America. Because it's a big industry in Los Angeles in particular. And not only Los Angeles, like I said, like they do stuff in Canada and New York and Texas is where you guys have probably seen a lot of anime that comes from Texas, like Attack on Titan and My Hero Academia and One Piece, Fairy Tail, stuff like that. So I've actually gotten a chance to work in Texas too, which is really cool. They do things actually a little bit differently than we do in Los Angeles. So everything I'm saying is going to be spoken from the Los Angeles perspective. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about how things work in Los Angeles as far as music goes. And I wrote down notes just in case I forget because I'm very forgetful. But so the way that it works is at first you get connected with studios, and the way that you do that is you take classes, which is actually how I got in. I took classes with Tony Oliver, who, I don't know if you guys know his name, but I'm sure you've heard him and stuff. He's Ulquiorra in Bleach, and he's the Minato in Naruto, without giving out any spoilers for people who haven't seen that far in Naruto, I guess. It's been out for 10 million years. But he's Lupin the Third, the original Lupin the Third. He worked on Power Rangers and stuff like that. So I ended up taking classes with him, and he liked a lot of what I did, so that helped me kind of get my foot in the door. So you take classes with people like that, and it might not be the case to where right away you get work, but at least you get the experience of having learned from these teachers and just learning more acting techniques in general. So that's one way of getting on studios. Networking in general is really good. If you have people that you know that are also in the industry and they know what you can do. I've gotten jobs based on other jobs that I've done, or working with certain directors. You guys know the name Patrick Seitz. He's another voice actor. He was Gamagori in Kill la Kill. He directed me on he's been in Fairy Tail and Attack on Titan and all this stuff. So I worked with him, a few times, and he helped me get into different studios. One in particular that does video games that I worked on, which is really nice of him. But that's something you don't usually ask for that kind of stuff. You don't ask somebody to help get you into a studio. It's usually more of a courtesy to let them be the ones to promote you to the other studios. So So that's what's worked for me, you know. So I try not to be pushy in my way of getting in places or like impressing people. So I feel like I know other people who have been a little bit more pushy, but that's not my style of doing things. And so another way is having an agent. That's a big step, I think. Like, you want an agent if you want to work on games like The Last of Us, or Mario games are now getting more voiceovers if you want to be in like Mario games, or in like, you know, big movies or big animation like Batman stuff or X-Men stuff, something like that. I actually don't have an agent right now, so a lot of what I do is work that I get on my own. But agents will help you get those bigger opportunities that you can meet things like Final Fantasy games with King of Hearts and stuff like that. So those are all ways to get connected with studios. So the next step is like actually getting the auditions. So you, again, like I don't have an agent, so I don't know a lot of the process of getting auditions through agents, but a lot of the auditions I've gotten through the studios I've connected with. I work with studios like Cup of Tea. They do a lot of video games, like I said. Like they do the Fire Emblem series and other stuff I don't remember at the moment. But and then Bangsu, who does a lot of the anime in Los Angeles, and Studiopolis, who does like Naruto and Sailor Moon and stuff like that. So I have made connections with them, and I get all my auditions from those guys, and a few other places here and there. So they send you the auditions, and basically the way it works out is you get these emails, and they'll give you the prospects of the project. So like they'll tell you if it's a video game or an anime or an animation or something like that, and they'll tell you what character you're auditioning for, and sometimes what project. There are often times when the project is like super duper secret, so they'll give you a code name instead. So you won't know what you're on, because, you know, that's a lot of stress that you're putting on yourself. So you definitely have to be careful, like ask for breaks and like hydrate a lot when you do stuff like that. But sometimes, you know, some of that stuff's so intense that you really can't do anything about it. So you'll be screaming, and sometimes people will lose their voices. And that like knocks you out for anywhere from like 2 days to a week. So then that's an entire week of jobs that you're missing potentially. So you have to be really, really careful with that stuff. So it's good to know, like, if you're screaming ahead of time, they're offering that information to you. And then also within the email, with the character that you're auditioning for, they'll give you like specific lines that they want you to read. And sometimes for anime in particular, they'll send reference clips. So they'll give you like a video of the character, and you don't have to match it to the lines to picture, but it's just to kind of like see the emotion, if there's any, you know, emotional tones that you need to hit and stuff like that. So that can be very helpful, or like just audio clips in general to kind of see their voices and stuff like that. So yeah, so then you look at all that stuff, you read the lines out, you send a file to them, and then you just kind of wait and see what happens. I've waited anywhere from like a week to a month or two before I found out if I booked something, which can sometimes be really excruciating, but after a while you kind of get used to forgetting about it, because that's the easiest way to like not make yourself go crazy, really. Because there are the things I've auditioned for that I'm like really a big fan of. And if I just spent my whole time reading to see if I booked this thing, I'd go insane, because it's just being a fan of the stuff that I work on is probably one of the hardest things like I've ever had to experience in my life, because it can be heartbreaking if you don't get something, you know. I can't think of anything that like, oh, actually maybe. So you guys know, I think maybe if you've seen Cooley Cooley, you know, the next 2 seasons had just come out, and I auditioned for it, and I didn't get anything. And I was a huge fan of like the first series, so that kind of hurt a little bit that I didn't book anything. But you know, it's something you just kind of have to get over as a professional, because you can't get too attached to something, because again, like you might experience that kind of heartbreak. But I've also been in a lot of things that I'm like really excited about. So I can't complain too much for not getting, you know, a thing or two. So after you send the audition and you're waiting, sometimes you will get what's called a callback, which is it's basically a second audition, and sometimes they'll have you recorded at home, and I've done a few of those, which is for Sailor Moon, I got a callback for that. So they had me basically just redo the voice. They had a few like minor directions. Like I think they wanted her to sound less angry than I had done it originally. So I did that, and sent it back. And then you just kind of wait some more. But then there's also in-studio callbacks, which is where you go in the studio, as suggested as the name kind of is assumed. And you go in and you'll actually get like in-person direction. So you'll have the director, the casting director there, and they'll tell you like exactly what they want, and they'll kind of work with you a little bit with the time that they have. So that can also be very helpful. I actually had one of those for Gone in Hunter x Hunter, so I auditioned for Gone initially and then got a call back. And they actually, I think I initially maybe made him a little bit too young. So they actually pulled a voice from my voiceover demo and were like, it's with Biz is the company who contracted the dub. And they know my work, so they actually asked for a voice that was specifically on my demo, and then they had to go into the studio and record the picture just to kind of make sure like everything would fit together. Because honestly, like I think everybody has a different like voice in their head that they expect for a character. I feel like, and if I'm completely honest, like a lot of the characters I play or that anybody else plays, I feel like any maybe 3 or so voice actors would have been completely perfect for the part, but everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. So it's kind of up to the client or the casting director to know exactly what they're looking for, and then that's what they end up picking. And sometimes it's a gamble, sometimes it just kind of seems right. So luckily I've been chosen for a lot of those characters, and people are trusting me with that. And but I think like being able to see the voice picture before it's actually being produced is a really nice way to kind of seal the deal for people, to make sure that they know what they're getting into, and like to make sure that the personality and the voice fits the character right. In addition to callbacks, there's also sometimes you don't even have to audition for things. Like I was kind of saying, like if people know your work, they'll just cast you in things. Not usually like really big things, but smaller things. Like there have been a few JRPGs that I've been in, like the Atelier series. I've just auditioned, I've auditioned for other projects, and then they'll pull my auditions from those other projects and cast me as a character based off that audition. So there's that, and usually if people trust you well enough, if you work with them a lot, they'll just like throw you in because they're like, oh, it's Erica, she can do this little boy character, no problem, like it's no big deal, so we'll just give that to her. That's really cool, to kind of just automatically get work from people. But I actually prefer auditioning, I think, just because it's, well, for one, you get more opportunities to like do different things, as opposed to if somebody just kind of places you in the formula and because they know it's going to work. But that's just me. I know a lot of people just like being auto-cast because it's like, oh yeah, guaranteed money, or oh yeah, I just booked the thing. It's really cool. But yeah. And then as for like when you actually get booked for stuff, the way that goes is you'll get scheduled. And sometimes they'll schedule you like really last minute. I've been scheduled for stuff like the day that they tell me I've been booked for something. Like they'll be like, hey, are you available today? And I'm like, sure, yeah, I guess. It's very rare that you get scheduled further than a week out. I'm always surprised when that does happen because everything in Los Angeles is super last minute. And it's maddening sometimes because I'm like, I need to plan things out, But yeah, and when you actually get into the booth, once you get all scheduled and everything, a lot of people, I think, that don't know how the process works, they assume, for anime in particular, that we all kind of work together. I know that they kind of do that in Japan, but in America, it's very hard to actually accomplish that when it comes to anime because of how technical the process is. So we record to everything that's, well, there have been very few cases where I actually recorded to unfinished animation, but most of the time the animation is complete. So they'll stick you in a room by yourself, and on the other side of the glass there's a director and the engineer who does all the like editing and stuff. And you basically just sit in that room with a TV and a script, and you will read your lines as they're queued up. And for animate, we preview the voice first, or we preview the animation first just to kind of like know what the tone of the scene is. And then they'll have us do what's called, it's called the ADR system, so it's automatic dialogue replacement. And they'll have us listen to 3 beeps, so it'll go beep, 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 and then you go on the imaginary 4th beep, is when the character starts talking. And you have to like match the script, exactly to those mouth flaps. And because the way that like English speaking audiences work, I feel like sometimes it has to be like super exact. At least for me, the mouth flaps have to be super exact, or else it drives me crazy, and I notice it. Because if you watch anime subbed, you'll notice that the Japanese don't care about that so much. They care more about the performances. So if you watch, a lot of the times the voices don't actually match the animation. Like things will be, the mouth won't be moving, and they'll still be talking, or like their mouth will close for a quick second in the middle of a sentence, but they're still talking like straight through it. So you're gonna notice this now if you watch subbed anime, and I notice it all the time now, especially. And it's just, I don't being someone who's like worked on the technical side of things, it like really bothers me. And I think a lot of people kind of give English dub actors flack about that too, because they're like, oh, well, the sub's better because they act better. And it's like, well, I mean, do they though? Like, if you don't know the language, do they really? Because I don't know the language either, but I've noticed that a lot of them do sound really overdramatic. There are some performances that are like super like realistic and amazing, don't get me wrong, but they do actual movies. Like, I don't know if anybody's seen, there's been a clip that's been going around of, I guess the guy who voices All Might from My Hero Academia voices Thor in the Thor movies, like the live action Thor movies, and it's hilarious. If you guys should look this up because it's so funny. He just sounds so cheesy. And it's weird seeing it on a real person. Like, on top of a cartoon, it's like, whatever, it's a cartoon, like it's supposed to be kind of like played up and stuff like that. But then it's kind of no-brainer to do the game stuff because it's kind of the same thing when you have to match the picture. And so the final type of voiceover that at least I've experienced is relay animation, which is what we call, again, the animation where you'll see what my cartoons like The Simpsons or Futurama or Rugrats or stuff like that, where things are actually animated after the voices come in. So you record first, and usually this is the only case where you'll record with other people. So I've done a few shows where we'll have like 3 to 7 people in the room at a time, and we're all like acting off of each other, which is really cool because you don't get to experience that very much if you're mostly working on anime. So it's nice to be able to like run through these scenes because you usually do like a scene at a time, and then you'll do it again just to make sure like everything's okay, and then they'll move on to the next scene. And I love doing anime and video games, but it's kind of nice to be able to be in a room and interact with other people, so you know exactly then and there like how they're saying the lines, and then you get to respond to it like in real time. You have to give like a little tiny bit of space because they have to have an editing point, but for the most part you're reacting almost instantly to this other person, and it's really cool to be able to hear like how people interpret things like on the fly. So those are nice. And then I did have a little question in my notes about asking if you guys had that in Trinidad, but I kind of already explained that had been explained to me earlier. So I'm hoping you guys get more stuff like that up here, because I personally love seeing different animations from different countries. Like a lot of cool stuff has come out of like France and China and Korea. So I think it'd be cool for Trinidad to have their own like little animation culture. So maybe this generation can start that. Everybody here should become like big time animators and start making their own cartoons. What's that? Oh, about manga? What was that? Oh, you're working on a manga. Oh, that's cool. That's a good start too. I used to draw a lot. I'm really bad at it. So. But what else? Oh yeah. So I can't even read my own handwriting. So I had a few people this weekend already ask me, you know, when is, like, for example, this is the major question, when is Seven Deadly Sins Season 2 coming out? And I personally don't know. I'm going to say that right now. So don't get excited that I was going to announce anything here. But that's the thing, like, if you can't find stuff like that on the internet, then more likely than not, like, the actors don't know specifically. And even if they do know, it's usually something they can't talk about because there are things called NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements that are in place, and we can get in big trouble if we disclose that information to the public. And I've had times where I've recorded something and it'll be about a year or so, maybe even more than a year sometimes, to where I can finally talk about it. And it's even more painful when there are trailers for those things out and I still can't talk about them because I've asked. I've been like, hey, my voice is in this thing. Can I talk about this yet? And then they'll get back to me a few days later and be like, no, sorry, we're waiting on like a press announcement. I'm like, okay. So then you have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting because I don't want to lose my job. I can be patient, I guess. It's really hard though. Again, like being a fan of the stuff, especially that I'm in, like it can be so excruciating to have to wait sometimes. But I have had projects where I've recorded it and then like maybe a week to a month later, like it'll come out, and I'm like, that's crazy to me. That's actually how Funimation in Texas is running a lot right now. Like they're doing what's called simuldubbing, and I don't envy their schedule at all because it sounds like they have to write a script for a show within like 2 to 3 days, and then throw it into the studio to record, and everybody has to record within that week to a week and a half, and you can't get sick because they will replace you for that episode, and then eventually, like, you'll record later, I guess, for the DVDs and stuff like that. But, like, getting sick sounds really scary. In general, like, getting sick as a voice actor is very scary, but getting sick down there in Texas when you have to record week to week, I think is even more frightening. Because I'd imagine if you're sick during, like, the first session, they might not even lose you, you know? Like, that would be a fear of mine, I think. But I'm really glad that we don't do that in LA because it sounds really hectic. I think they tried for like a show or two, but it's just too insane. And I don't know how they do that in Texas with so many shows because they have like, I want to say 12 shows a season. They're pretty up to date with the Japanese schedule. I did do a movie recently that I can't talk about quite yet, but I just recorded it not too long ago, and it's coming out next weekend. So that's pretty crazy. Like, that always sounds like too tight of a deadline to me, because I would prefer things to take longer to come out to make sure that everything's, you know, up to quality. Because I'd be afraid of, like, mistakes happening or, you know, something within that short time. So everybody's, you know, rushing to get it done. But I guess the one nice thing about working on simuldubbed schedule for the Texas people is that they get to announce stuff right away. I actually have a friend, Jeannie Tirado, who moved from Texas to Los Angeles, and she's kind of going through the opposite effect where she's used to announcing everything right away. But now she's been working on like bigger title video games, and she has to wait for over a year before these things come out to where she can announce it. So that's like driving her insane. But yeah, so NDAs can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but I kind of get why they're in place. Like, people want to make sure that they have a timeline for things to be announced and stuff like that. But I personally, if it's something I really like, I don't even want to say that if it's something I really care about. Sometimes I do forget to announce things, but I'm that person who's like online making sure when the release dates are, and I put it in my calendar. That's how anal retentive I am about it. I put it in my calendar and I'll announce it like as soon as I can because it's exciting. I like getting to announce stuff, and I like seeing the excitement that you guys get when things get to be announced and stuff like that. Just how much, like in places like this, I've been telling Janine and Josette, like, I didn't know you guys watched anime out here. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but especially like English dubbed anime. I know this is an English speaking country, but I don't know, I've never thought about it, like how many places actually do watch dubs, because I don't like to assume people watch dubs. I just assume people watch anime, and when they do, usually it's subbed. But man, I get pleasantly surprised. I feel like every time I come to these things, and there's so many of you here just sitting here listening to me talk, and then like people who come up to autographs and talk to me about how much they love my work. So it's really cool to see like how widespread the fandom is for dubs. So thank you guys so much for just being so nice and supportive. It's been really cool to experience the anime fandom out here. And I hope you guys infect more people with anime love. So get all your friends to watch anime, especially if I'm in it, because all the shows I'm in are really cool. I'm not biased or anything. But yeah, I've actually done a lot of conventions, and I feel like when you're a voice actor though, I never expected to go to as many conventions as I've been to, and I've been to about, like, in the past 5 or 6 years that I've been doing this, I've been to, I want to say, over 50 conventions. And I've been very fortunate. I probably shouldn't go to that many conventions just because it's really tiring, but I like meeting you guys. I think it's really cool to kind of give back to the community, because I didn't explain this earlier, but maybe you caught it as I was talking about things, but I've loved anime since I was like a teenager, and I grew up watching like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, and Fruits Basket is still to this day one of my favorite shows. And I used to go to conventions, and I would get autographs from voice actors, and go to panels like this and sit in the audience and listen to people talk and learn about things and have a lot of fun. So. I feel like I go to so many conventions, so I feel like this is my way of giving back, because I'm very grateful for where I am today, and it's really cool. I never expected anything like this in my entire life, but I feel like a lot of voice actors kind of like coming up on the scene in America, especially, I feel like they think conventions are kind of baked into the package of being a voice actor, but they're not. I know a lot of people who have been leads in shows, but the shows just don't take off. And you kind of have to be like really lucky to get to a show like Attack on Titan and Kill la Kill, and Sailor Moon, and Hunter x Hunter, and stuff like that, to where it's something that conventions find it worth inviting people for. And sometimes you don't even have to be a main character; like you just have to be a character that people like and that people want to see you and stuff like that. So I've been very fortunate again to be as many characters that are so well liked by so many people. It's hard to say no to meeting new people and traveling to new places. So that's why I do so many. I told myself I was going to cut back, and then you get the invite to Trinidad, and you're like, oh, well, I gotta go, So that's why I'm here. And it's been great so far. I've been to, like I said, I've been to a few other countries for conventions in particular, but I don't think I've ever seen a place quite like Trinidad yet, and it's really nice. Even just like, I was in my hotel room all day yesterday because I had to do some work, but just being able to sit out on the balcony in the rain was like really cool. And the heat is different up here, like it's kind of a nice heat right now at least. That's for me. I honestly love. See, you have to understand. I just was in LA like 2 days ago, so it was very hot there, and it's dry heat, so like you just like sweat, and it's disgusting. And I don't have very good AC in my apartment, so this is comfortable to me, like the weather here. And then we don't get a lot of rain either, so seeing the rain yesterday was really cool. But yeah, I really like traveling out to these things, and it's really cool seeing. Like, I haven't actually got to walk too much through the little exhibit hall you guys have here, but I love seeing like all the merchandise that people sell, because I'm a big collector of things. I like, mainly right now I'm trying to only collect things from shows I'm in, of my characters in particular, because there's so many figures out there and they cost so much money, and to stop myself from hopefully spending quite as much money, I try to only buy my characters, but it's very hard sometimes, especially because a lot of my characters have a lot of merchandise. I forgot to mention Love Live earlier, but I'm in Love Live, I play Nico, and Love Live in itself has tons of merchandise, and I have probably almost all of it, of my character. So those are where my priorities lie, I feel like, when it comes to spending money. And eating, of course. Eating is important. And feeding bodies is important. There too much yet, but there's too much cosplay yet. And I think you guys are. Did you guys have the World Cosplay Summit thing here? You guys are doing that here? That's really cool. Like, that's a big thing from what I hear. So I'm excited to see more cosplay. I see some people cosplaying. Like, you guys are in my hero, right? Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Not too many. I see a Spider-Man, of course. There's always got to be one Spider-Man. I saw Deadpool earlier. There's always got to be a Deadpool. But yeah, it's just really cool, like being able to see different countries cosplay and like kind of just what people are into in general. Especially like when I like seeing at autograph sessions. I like seeing like who's into what. So like I've had conventions where people are really into my character from Danganronpa, which is really cool because I love those video games too. And like more often than not, usually I'll get like Ryuko from Kill la Kill. People are really excited about that. But a lot of people here have been excited about Seven Deadly Sins, like I was kind of talking about earlier. So have all of you seen Seven Deadly Sins? Who's seen it? Well, a lot of you have. It's really cool. And I feel like maybe that one's just like widespread globally. Like it just seems like that one is just something that people are really into because it's, I don't know, it's got like fantasy elements to it, it's actiony, it's emotional, it's got so many characters, so you kind of have to like at least one of them, right? But yeah, so it's really cool hearing from people. I've had a lot of people talk to me about like really personal things about stuff before too, like when it comes to my character in Sword Art Online. I've had a lot of people who tell me like really heartwarming stories about that, or like Sailor Uranus and Sailor Moon. A lot of people talk about that one to me. It's really cool to just hear people's stories and how they got into anime and all that, because I can relate to it. It's nice being able to hear like how other people got into this fandom, because it's a lot different than when I was first getting into it. Like in America, when I was getting into anime, like we barely had manga on our shelves. I think we had like, what did we even have? We had Chobits. I don't know if anybody knows Chobits, like one of the claim series. Like that was on the shelf, and like maybe two other things, like maybe Sailor Moon or something like that. But it was barely there. And we used to have to buy like $40 US dollar VHSs that would have like 2 episodes on them. And you'd be lucky if you could find the English dub version. So it's really cool to see how anime has grown. It's really cool to see how it's grown and that it's, widespread this far. Like, again, I never would have thought that this many people would be into anime in a Caribbean country. It's really cool. What time? I have like 7 minutes left. What do I talk about now? I can't really hear anybody else, so I ask for questions. Oh, do you have another microphone? We can do quick questions.
Yeah, we do have a Q&A right now. I want to ask Let's come on.
Okay, I have 3 minutes, I like. And I apologize ahead of time if I have to.
I was wondering, however you pronounce it, how was it like voicing Aladdin with his roles, like the moves?
Oh, what was it like voicing Aladdin, especially for like when he kind of fondles women? Yeah, that was interesting. I actually have a quick story about that. So when I first went in for my very first, actually, he just sees like a pair of breasts and he will dive right into it. So the first scene in the anime, there is a large man and he has man boobs, and he Aladdin like dives right in and like basically motorboats him, and I had to make those sounds. And so, you know, I just did like whatever, like maybe not motorboats, but he like sticks his face and smushed in there, really smushed in there. And so to kind of get those like boob sounds, I like, you know, you kind of go like this and be like, oh, I'm so excited about like everything, and it kind of makes yourself a little bit like you've got your face in something, you know. So so I had to do a lot of that, and the casting director was there when I did that. And after we took a break, she was like, oh, you know, you're really good at like making those sounds. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've had a lot of practice. And I was like, wait, no, I'm kidding. I don't. It was a joke. Because I was still newer at the time, so I was like worried that I was going to offend somebody making dumb jokes. But yeah, but Aladdin was really fun. Like, I really love Aladdin. Yeah, question.
Yeah, I have two.
2 questions?
First one, has Seven Deadly Sins movie been dubbed already?
Has it been dubbed already? If I knew, I still could not talk about it. So that's all I will say for now. But I honestly, like, I have to say, for stuff that's on Netflix, I think people can assume that it's going to be dubbed at some point. So look forward to probably in the future. I don't know when. I have no idea. That's all I can say. Yeah.
My other question is, one of my favorite voice actors, Johnny Young-Bosch.
Johnny Young-Bosch?
Have you worked with him before?
Have I worked with him? I've worked in shows with him. I've never like worked with him personally. But he seems really cool. He's very quiet, like more quiet than I am in real life. So in real life, that was a weird thing to say. In person, I've done conventions with him before, and I'm always too afraid to talk to him because he's actually like one of my favorites too. Because I used to watch him when he was on the Power Rangers, and he was Vash and Trigun. So I still actually get really starstruck with some people. So it's really hard for me to talk to people that don't talk to me first. And he hasn't talked to me first yet, so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just never going to talk to you. But yeah, thank you so much.
Is there any questions?
She answered.
Can I get a tip for people who want to start voice acting?
What was that?
Can I get a tip for people who want to start voice acting?
Do I have any advice for it? Well, I feel like for Trinidad, well, I don't want to say it's the only advice I can give right now, but like I was kind of saying earlier, it doesn't sound like there's a huge scene for that in the country right now. So until that happens, one of the biggest pieces of advice I would have to say is probably that you would have to move until that scene gets bigger out here. Well, I mean, I guess there's like radio stuff. There's probably radio stuff out here that you could do, but acting is like, honestly, just doing any kind of acting. Stage acting really helps, especially if you've got stage fright, because like I was kind of saying earlier, that's something you have to get over if it's something you really want to do. So first and foremost, acting over anything. Taking community stage acting classes, or like just anything really to get that creative way of like expressing emotion kind of on the fly, and being able to just like read things, you know, like take a magazine and like read that and see how naturally you can get into sound, and you know, just read aloud, read to other people, read to nieces, nephews, younger siblings, anything like that. So just to kind of get that feeling of it. But yeah, I think until the voiceover stuff gets bigger here, like I wouldn't know exactly how to give advice for Trinidad in particular. But try acting. Acting I think is really fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Alright, so we have one more.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. Okay, so Killer Kill was my jam, and you have been very informative. So I almost didn't have a question until I learned that you did grad school, and I
Yes.
had no clue. I should have done my research there. So I don't have a big question. It was, I mean, did you think you had to do the rage parts for her at first, and you were very relieved when it was someone else? Because it sounds like a dude doing
Oh
the
yeah,
rage.
it's a guy. His name is Jameson Boas. He is an
Okay.
actual heavy metal singer, and he's awesome. I've met him. I was actually very glad that I didn't have to do that because it sounds painful.
Yes.
And kind of like how I was saying earlier about how you have to really take care of your voice. Me not being a trained heavy metal singer, I think that would have destroyed me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been able to work for probably the next few weeks. So I'm very glad that all I had to do was like nice, happy, let's go. Because I would rather leave the heavy metal stuff to the professional, and I'm glad that we were able to do that.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Alright, so that will be it for questions, right? Just give it up for Ms. Mendez for this evening.
Thank you.
We have up next the Fortnite Boogie Down, which will be starting in about 5 minutes.